Just a reminder before today's programme that Doctor Who fans can check out the previous instalment of the Doctor Who Review, where we reviewed episode 4, which was titled Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. And now, here on AMTV, the latest Doctor Who review taking a look at Series 12, Episode 5, Fugitive of the Judoon. Hi there guys, it's Martyn here, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. This time we're looking at episode 5 of series 12, that is Fugitive of the Judoon. Now this turned out to be quite the bigger episode than I think a lot of us expected. As usual, I've written a bunch of notes on my phone in no particular order, and having said that, we're probably going to start with some of the biggest things first. So first of all, Captain Jack Harkness is back. John Barrowman has returned to Doctor Who after a 10-year gap. Of course, it was New Year's Day 2010 in the End of Time Part 2 when we last saw him, and I loved his reveal, how we sort of heard, the voice over the tannoy, and I'm thinking, that vaguely sounds like John Barrowman, and then hey presto, it was. And it's, he didn't get to see Jodie's Doctor this time, but he got to meet the companions. His interactions were as cheesy and delightful as they've always been, which is fantastic, and I really hope later in the season he does get to meet Jodie's Doctor. If he doesn't, I'd feel that's ever so slight of a cop-out, but I'd like to think they're going to do it. Why go to all the expense of getting John Barrowman down for just essentially like 5 minutes of screen time? But then I also want to talk about Jo Martyn as the Doctor, as it says in the credits. She is the Doctor, and you know what? When that was revealed, that wasn't where I thought it was going. This episode did a good job of sort of keeping me on my toes. So the whole fugitive thing, you think it's meant to be Lee at first, and in a way it is, because he's later revealed to be like the protector, sort of like what the Martha was to the Doctor back in Human Nature, the Family of Blood. And can I just say, this whole thing of like revealing the Doctor back to their Time Lord self, I actually watched Human Nature and the Family of Blood the day before this new episode premieres. That is mad coincidence, but yeah, just the whole reveal. So when it started saying break the glass, I was thinking maybe Ruth is a Time Lord concealed. I didn't think it was the Doctor, not by any stretch, until she actually said it. But she's really good. She's got an absolutely fabulous presence. She's commanding, she's authoritative, she's funny. Like, I love some of the interactions she and Jodie's Doctor have, and some of the interactions she has with Gat when they're aboard the ship. I'm just really interested to learn a lot more about her Doctor, really, whoever this Doctor is. My personal theory on it at the minute, I know Jodie's saying, I don't recognise you, but like the TARDIS is old on the outside, and the interior, the console room's old as well, with a few tweaks. My theory is this is some sort of alternative Doctor, whether it's like parallel, or whether it's parallel, whether it's just like a split dimension, all that sort of stuff. Might talk a bit about that later, but me personally, I don't think Jo Martyn is the first Doctor, so to speak, because my personal thoughts on that are, if you go down that route of saying, actually Jo Martyn and potentially a slew of others were the first Doctors before William Hartnell, not only does that just make things needlessly complicated, I also think personally that's a bit of a disrespect to William Hartnell's memory and the part he originated. But however, if they do that with what they did with John Hurt and slotted him quite seamlessly in as the War Doctor, then I think it all can work. Then the Judoon, the actual title of the episode, which was, a good title. It's a classic Doctor Who title, something of the something. But obviously concealing how big this actually was. It was cool to see the Judoon again. They had their dedicated episode in Smith and Jones, but I don't think we've seen them since 2015, and like a brief cameo at the start of season 9. Nice to have them have an episode focused on them again. Was a bit like, okay, when they started going through the usual motions, like they arrive, they start cataloguing people, they set a force field. I know that's sort of what the Judoon do, but it was a very like retread of the ground we did in Smith and Jones. And I watched Smith and Jones just before Fugitive premiered, just to sort of get myself familiar with the Judoon and any lore they've got behind them. So they were sort of going through the motions, but I liked some more depth we had, and the idea that removing a Judoon's horn is stripping them of their honour. I thought that was quite cool too. One thing I did like at first, but then actually cringed a little bit at, the whole Judoon platoon on the moon. I like that Jodie referenced it to begin with, because that's a nice callback to what David Tennant did in Smith & Jones. But then to harbour on it and try and make it a lagoon just for the sake of it, you didn't need to do that. The opening scene I thought was really nice in the TARDIS, where we get to see a bit of a darker side of Jodie, or should I say maybe a more fiery side of Jodie, one that's not willing to share as much with her companions as they want to know. I mentioned this a few reviews ago, I did want to see more of this. I wanted to see more conflict in Team TARDIS. I wanted to see the companions butt heads with her more and her get a bit more abrasive with them, and that opening scene was absolutely perfect for that. The reveal to them that she's been hunting the Master and essentially been dumping them on planets to explore. Not only is that reckless, but in the best Doctor-ish way, I think that's a brilliant plot thread, how she's hell-bent on finding the Master, especially wanting the answers after he destroyed Gallifrey, for example. So, yeah, that opening scene was brilliant, and there is obviously the last scene in the TARDIS, which I guess I'll talk about now. So sort of after she does reveal to them about, that the Ruth Doctor, or Jo Martyn, was her, but she doesn't recognise her, and they get that nice speech about family. It was a bit thingy about family, from the companions. It was a bit too much, I thought, in the end, but, nice all the same. I would have rather preferred it to end on a more somber note, shall we say. Like, my favourite part of the scene, I think, was when she says to Ryan, you don't know me. Like, do you know what I mean? These people think they know her inside out. They don't. They absolutely don't. And I wanted it to sort of end on that more combative, sour note, I suppose, just because it'd be something different. And this episode really gave Jodie a chance to show off her range as a Doctor, show off how she can be dark, how she can be a bit more brutal or honest with her companions for the sake of what she strives after, which at the end of the day is her home, it's her planet, her race, etc. So, really good job for Jodie on this one, and brilliant writing as well. And then the ship scene with Gat. So this is when, obviously, we find out about Dr. Ruth, and they're both on the ship, confronted by Gat, who is revealed to be yet another Gallifreyan. That whole exchange I loved, because you can tell Jodie's just itching to get her truth out there, which she eventually does. But Dr. Ruth just commands the whole thing. I mean, I love her presence, I love her energy. And just that whole scene worked really well. It was tense, it was emotive, especially when Jodie does contact on Gat to try and show her what happened to Gallifrey. And the fact she sees it as trickery, yes, it could be people from Gallifrey's past, as she implies. However, I'd still argue more down the alternate timeline route. Maybe it's a result of Gallifrey being in a pocket dimension. Or I have another theory, but I'm going to talk about that more as we get towards the end. Then we have this whole thing, yet another plot thread, introduced by Jack about the lone Cyberman. Beware the lone Cyberman. Now, in the Series 12 trailer, we do see a brief shot of a Cyberman. Whether or not that's the lone one is anyone's guess. But an evil empire that is on the brink of falling, or has fallen, and should it stay that way? But what is this lone Cyberman? What are its demands? How does this all link to Gallifrey? Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got this big plot point, and now you're throwing us another one. So, yeah, I'd be very interested to see what the lone Cyberman has to do with the whole grand scheme of things. But I'm excited. Like, I'm genuinely excited to see how this all pans out. The growing tension between the group. I mean, I've already talked about this a little bit, but as I said in an earlier review, I wanted more tension between Team TARDIS. I enjoyed Series 11 for the most part, but I think one thing I could have asked for more was more tension between the main cast, because in past ones, not just in New Who, but in Classic Who as well, some of the most interesting scenes in all of Doctor Who history is when the companion goes against the Doctor, or that they butt heads, because then you get a clash of morals. They're both good at heart, but you get that whole moral dilemma, and I'm glad we're starting to see bits of that now in Series 12. I really want it to continue and ramp up all the way up to the finale. I think we're going to have a big finale. I think either companions are going to leave, or someone may die. I mean, part of me doesn't want that, because New Who companions have died so often, it just feels a bit tired now. But you never know, someone might go. What does this all mean? I've literally written in a question mark. Well, I don't really have an answer to that, do I? I mean, there's 10 episodes a season. We've just had episode 5. I'm hoping the last is going to be a 2-part finale, so say 9 and 10. I think Chibnall said somewhere in an interview that Spyfall wasn't going to be the only 2-part of this season, and I hope he sticks to that. But that means episodes 6, 7, and 8. I mean, yes, they may be more standalone stories, but I just hope in small ways they continue to like weave the thread of the overall arc. So sort of, what we've had in series past, like with Bad Wolf and Torchwood and Mr. Saxon, all that sort of stuff. I just want it to keep weaving through in little strands, whether that's more arguments in the TARDIS between the TARDIS team, or whether that's the Doctor hunting after the Master, or anything like that. I just want more of that continuous groundwork laid for by the time we get to the finale. Is the Master involved? I'd say highly likely. I know he got banished to that other dimension at the end of Spyfall, but the fact, we got to think back to Spyfall Part 2 when he had that message in the TARDIS. The fact that he went back to Gallifrey, he destroyed it because of what he discovered. We still don't know what it is he discovered. Something to do with the Timeless Child, but something that could rewrite the whole lore of Gallifrey and Time Lord mythology as we know it. And maybe Dr. Ruth and Gat and all of that stuff could be a result of that. Maybe the Master's rewriting history. Maybe the Master's explored alternate timelines. We really don't know. But I'd hazard a guess that the Master has to be involved somehow. Which is going to be quite a cluttered finale. Because imagine if they all come back. So we could have a finale with the TARDIS team, with Dr. Ruth, Joe Martin, with the Master, and potentially Cybermen. That'd be an action-packed finale, that would. And I mentioned, I hope we get teasers before the finale. And those are all my main points. I mean, for an episode titled Fugitive of the Judoon, they actually played sort of a back seat after like the first 20-25 minutes. But that's absolutely fine. I mean, I'm amazed they kept these two big reveals. So Captain Jack and Joe Martin as the Doctor. I'm amazed they managed to keep them secret. Because like you think back to sort of in Russell T Davies' time, but you think like especially in Moffat's time, they could hardly keep anything secret. So the fact they're able to keep these a secret, I mean, props to Chris Chibnall, I mean, for keeping all that a secret. Well done, and please keep doing that, keep surprising us. Fugitive of the Judoon has been an absolutely fantastic episode, and just, for me at least, continues the trend of good episodes throughout this season. Is it the best one so far? Probably, I'd say. I mean, we've still got 5 episodes left, so we'll have to see what they give us. But next episode is episode 6, and I believe it's titled Praxeus, or Praxis, who knows. But that one looks to be equally as interesting. But that is all for this installment of the Doctor Who review. If you enjoyed the episode as much as I did, leave your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts as well. Let me know your thoughts on this episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Did you like seeing Captain Jack back? Did you enjoy seeing a new incarnation of the Doctor, whoever that might be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you are brand new, and until the next one, I will see you guys next time. Well, that does bring us to a close this evening on AMTV. We do hope you enjoyed the programme, and please do keep your eyes open for brand new content that will be coming to you soon. Until then, have a very good week, and we hope that you join us again soon. Good night.